On King David, it's Bussin on the Cartoon News Network. Thank you for joining us. David Barksdale was a founding member and the first king of what is now known as the Black Disciples Street Gang. He died in 1974 at the age of 27. After his death, Dirk Acklin, better known as Don Dirk, and Jerome Shorty Freeman fought a war for control of the gang inside and outside of prison until King Shorty was released from prison in 1981. He won the BD Civil War, was crowned king of all of the BDs in 1983 or 84, and maintained peace with their allies in the Folks Nation, the Gangster Disciples, but he was sent back to prison in 1989. During the bloody war between the Black Disciples and their former allies, the Gangster Disciples, that ensued in 1991, Marvell Thompson, King Shorty's right-hand man, the Supreme High Minister, approached a drug-dealing, high-ranking GD from Randolph Towers, also known as the Calumet Building, Donnell Scandalous Jahan, with an offer he couldn't refuse. Scandalous was appointed as a BD minister, started selling drugs provided to him by Marvell Thompson and King Shorty, and controlled day-to-day drug-dealing operations in the Calumet Building and the surrounding areas on the south side of Chicago. All of Scandalous' crew in the Calumet Building flipped to BDs, went to war with all of the remaining GDs in their hood, and some were given leadership positions. Alfred Creamer was named co-minister. OTF Lil Varney's uncle, Varma Voker, was appointed head director. And James Stewart, aka JMO, was named co-director. According to confidential witness 4, in the 2004 RICO indictment against King Vale, he started selling drugs for Marvell Thompson in 1991, when Marvell Thompson was named Supreme High Minister by King Shorty. The indictment shows that King Shorty's daughter stored Marvell's drugs in her house and received money that Marvell collected from other ministers on behalf of her incarcerated father. For his part, Marvell incorporated a lot of Islamic language and teachings into the gang and flipped several BD sets in Englewood on the city's south side from the Folks Nation Alliance to the People's Nation, calling themselves Bluefin BDs. Bluefin BDs wore blue and black instead of red and black, their hats to the left, instead of wearing their hats to the right, to distinguish themselves from Gangster Disciples, and allied themselves with Stones, Vice Lords, and Four Corner Hustlers under the 5-point star. Get it? Blue, fin for 5, BDs? Meanwhile, in an effort to ensure his release from prison, King Shorty relinquished his title in 1992 and handed the crown to King Vale. According to confidential witness 4, King Vale immediately called a meeting at the Castle, a multi-unit apartment complex located at 60th and Normal. King Vale announced his new authority and introduced everybody to his guys, including Scandalous and Albert Spann. Albert Spann was the minister who controlled the west side of Chicago for the BDs. Over a decade later, by 2004, King Vale had agreed to change the hierarchical structure of the BDs and share power with his two top ministers, crowning King Scandalous, or King Scan, and King Span. But the power structure of 3 kings wouldn't last long. The feds were closing in on a RICO indictment that makes the O-Block RICO case look like an after-school TV special for kids. This is the first part of the Cartoon News Network's 4-part series on all of the BD kings called King Vale, the King of All Rats.
Before his cooperation, confidential witness 15 was a GD governor, which is equivalent to a BD minister. From May 1992 through April 1993, confidential witness 15 was an inmate at Vienna prison. His cell was located near Larry Hoover's, and he was part of Hoover's security team. According to him, he heard Hoover talk about Marvell Thompson, and at some point sent a message to co-conspirator A, which was King Shorty, about gang activity, and Marvell visited Larry in prison a few days later. In the summer of 1994, confidential witness 15 attended a meeting called by King Vale and Gregory, Shorty G. Shell, the street boss for the Gangster Disciples. On 51st and Federal, where a truce was called, ending the war that started in 1991. Of course, the truce didn't last forever. According to confidential witness 17, The area around 60th and Wabash was controlled by the GDs in 1997 or 98, until King Vale's right-hand man, Scandalous, ordered the younger Beatties to drive them out. The Beatties shot at people on that block, and even attempted to burn down a house. Acts of violence were not limited to opposing gang members. King Vale, and members of his board of directors, enforced what they called the Freeman family rules, and stressed the Beattie principle of aid and assistance. So, confidential witness 17, witnessed a violation of a Beattie member, ordered by Black Disciples board member, Corey Evans, for failing to help Evans when he was robbed at the gas station on 63rd and Wentworth. In 1998, confidential witness 17, was brought to feared Beattie board member, Kenyatta Coates, aka Yomo, in the trunk of a car because one of his homies stole a kilo of cocaine. Yomo shot the robber in the hand, and had his brother beaten badly. Derek White served as a soldier in the Black Disciples narcotics enterprise, in which capacity he acted as a lookout at the gang's drug dealing locations to warn about possible interference by the police, or rival gang members. In 2001, Derek White was working security at the Calumet building. On the night of May 8, 2001, undercover officers from the Chicago Police Department approached the building where White was stationed to conduct a reverse sting, meaning they would arrest drug dealers when they arrived, then pose as the dealers and arrest anyone who tried to purchase narcotics from them. Dressed as a construction worker, Officer Dion Hughes drove a U-Haul truck toward the building and got out of the vehicle. As he did so, White approached, frisked him, felt Hughes's bulletproof vest, and yelled, 5-0, gang code for the police. Hughes then identified himself as a police officer, and White reached into his waistband for a gun. Hughes punched White in the face and tried to run to the front of the U-Haul for cover, but White got off 3 shots. 2 of the bullets hit Hughes, 1 in his lower back and 1 in his spine. White fled the scene, but based on a description Hughes provided other officers as he lay injured, police later apprehended him. From the Calumet building, the Beatties hijacked a Christian radio station's frequency, and played uncensored hip-hop songs on 104.7 FM. One of the radio personalities, Ghetto Man, was a Beattie who sent coded messages over the airwaves if police or rival gang members were entering their territory, but that shit didn't stop authorities from shutting the Beatties radio station down, arresting 47 members, including King Vale, and demolishing the Calumet building in 2004. When he pleaded guilty the next year, he admitted only that he'd sold drugs. Marvale Thompson told the court, "As far as the king and all that, I've told them 1,000 times that's not me." In 2020, a federal judge reduced Marvale Thompson's sentence from 45 years to 30 years, based in large part on his cooperation, while he was locked up. In the letter he wrote asking for leniency, Marvale Thompson wrote, "In my mind at the time, my criminal undertakings, and fruits thereof, were legitimately used to pay rent for poorer families, pay for clothes for poorer children, and buy them school supplies and otherwise aid, financially, those in need in the community," Thompson wrote. "You cannot simultaneously build up and destroy that which you purport to love. I embarked on a path of illegal misdeeds that would eventually completely destroy not only my life, but the lives of every person I ever loved or cared about, including those in my community I most identified with, based upon our common experience of living poor." In his letter, Thompson said he was raised by a single teenage mother. He wrote that their belongings got tossed out when they were evicted for not paying rent and that older criminals became his father figures. "They believed just as I, once, that positive change can come from illegal means," he wrote. "I have come to know that that is an illusion." Thompson said he visited kids in school, trying to be a role model, but now regrets that, although the visits and support may have done some good, "I can see the young men thinking selling drugs and the street life made Marvale like this, and I want to be just like him." In prison, Thompson said, he's learned carpentry, plumbing and electrical skills and hopes to return to his family and work in community outreach. "I realized that I needed to contribute to the efforts to curb the violence that the people of my community were inflicting upon each other," he wrote. And Thompson said that, if he goes free, he won't return to the gang, not that he could after cooperating with prosecutors. "My cooperation with the United States government has been made public, which fully and finally severed my criminal ties." Damn. The last undisputed king of the Beatties, Marvale Thompson, is a snitch. Considering his rank and status, King Vale must have snitched on the Mexican cartels, or the Nigerian heroin dealers that supplied him, making King Vale the king of all rats. Thanks for watching part 1 of our series, detailing the history of all of the Beattie kings, and please subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you won't miss part 2.